What is the one thing to never say to somebody who is in a narcissistic relationship? And this is one that you can send to your friends and your family as well, if you feel like they are saying this to you. Because if they are saying this to you, I know, because I've been there, that you can feel a lot of shame, a lot of weakness, and a lot of stupidity. So it's really important that we get this out there so that people can start to have a much more trauma-informed approach about how we are communicating with people in an abusive relationship. So hi everybody, my name is Caroline Strawson and I'm a positive psychology trauma coach and somatic therapist. And my literal goal and passion and purpose in my life is to help people just like yourself move from post-traumatic stress to post-traumatic growth after the trauma of narcissistic abuse. Because I've been exactly where you are right now and I was stuck for years. And it was only when I started to do my body work that I really started to shift into what we call in positive psychology post-traumatic growth. So it's really important for you to start to understand, to get educated, to be inspired, to get hope that how you feel right now doesn't mean this is how you're going to feel forevermore. So what is this number one thing then that you should never say to somebody in a narcissistic relationship? Well, one of the key things to remember before I tell you what it is we are wandering around in a society today where there is so much judgment, there is so much shame and criticism that we're all feeling and also projecting onto others. And one of the key things to remember is when people are judging, when people are criticizing, what they are doing is they are actually projecting an element of their own pain onto somebody else. You know, I do a lot of internal family systems work in what I do with my clients and in my group programs and communities. And internal family systems is actually an evidence-based parts therapy. And it's on the premise that we all have a self, a true self, core self, authentic self, whatever it is that you want to call that. And that true self has 8 key traits: compassion, curiosity, confidence, connectedness, creativity, clarity, courage, and calmness. And if you aren't coming from a place of all of those 8 C's, then what happens is you are blended with a protector part and you are projecting that pain then onto somebody else. So if someone is judging you or criticizing you, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into maybe why they are doing that towards you when you are in that narcissistic relationship as well. Because their intentions are very pure, but actually it's really destructive to be saying things like this to somebody in a judgmental fashion. So the number one thing not to say to anybody in a narcissistic relationship is just leave then. Just leave then. Those 3 little words that we should not be saying to anybody in a narcissistic relationship. So why not? Why is it then that somebody can see the pain that their daughter, their son, their sister, their friend, their brother, whomever that is, if we can see the pain that they're in a relationship because they're telling us things that are happening, why shouldn't then we just say, hey, just leave then? This is not through a trauma-informed approach. Somebody who says that does not understand the dynamics of trauma, does not understand abuse, and does not understand attachment disorders of why somebody stays in that narcissistic or indeed any abusive relationship. This can be anything around domestic abuse as well. What we have to understand in this perspective is, why does somebody then stay? Why would somebody stay in a relationship when they are feeling hurt, when they are feeling that pain? And for this, we need to understand what I call our inner child wounds. Now, these inner child wounds are formed in our childhood when we perceive and interpret parents' behavior in a certain way. So you might have an unemotional parent. A child will perceive that. It must be me. I'm not good enough. Maybe your parents have got divorced. A child will perceive that. It must be me. Maybe I'm unlovable enough. Their child could be abused. The child will think, maybe it's me, I am worthless. So a child will always need to find a reason for events and other people's behavior, and very often a child will always point the finger back to itself. Now, as adults, we may look back and know it wasn't our fault, but the problem with trauma is what happens is it starts to get wired into our body. It's all to do with our nervous system. We start to feel that pain, our nervous system and brain go, never want to feel this pain again, because we are built for survival and to move us away from pain. So everything becomes for us from that moment onwards as a child to not feel what our body perceives to be the most pain for us to have. So if you have maybe an inner child wound of I'm not good enough, everything for you then is about not feeling that pain of I'm not good enough. So if we then fast forward to somebody being in a narcissistic relationship, maybe with a wound of I'm not good enough, I'm worthless, I'm unlovable, I'm not important, everything about their system is trying desperately not to feel any of those. So when they are in that abusive relationship, those breadcrumbs of love from an abuser, from a narcissist, is still better than none. Their nervous system is like, which is better? Having breadcrumbs of love? Yeah, that minimizes the pain of my wound and feeling worthless. Yeah, it's still not a nice relationship, but you know what? It's still kind of less painful. Or no relationship. That's like ripping the scab off the wound. It's like it's bleeding, and oh my goodness, we cannot have that happen. So can you see there? Even though cognitively people probably know they shouldn't be in those relationships, right? People will know that it's an abusive relationship on some level, deep down, even if they don't cognitively recognize that it's an abusive relationship. I didn't recognize that I was in an abusive relationship until I came out of it. That's the subtlety of the chipping away when you are in a psychologically abusive relationship. It's not just one day, my relationship is fine, and then the next day, I'm in a psychologically abusive relationship. That doesn't happen. It's over a period of time. And believe me, that can be years and years and years. And it wasn't even until I came out of my marriage with my ex-husband, who was a covert narcissist, that I didn't even realize I'd been in an abusive relationship. I just thought there were certain behaviors, the cheating and things like this, that were kind of not good in a relationship. I didn't understand the psychological abuse that had gone on, the gaslighting, the control, the manipulation, the isolation. I didn't realize that any of that had been going on. So it's really important then for us, when we start to say these things like, with the best intentions, well, just leave then. If you're unhappy, just leave. If he's doing that or she's doing this, just leave then. But actually what you're not doing is you're not understanding the why do they stay. You know, somebody stays in an abusive relationship, not because they're weak, not because they are stupid, because to their nervous system, it actually feels safer to stay. It feels safer to have breadcrumbs of love because it minimizes the pain of their core inner child wounds than going and actually really like ripping the scab off those wounds. So one of the key ways that you can help and support somebody then, if they are in an abusive relationship and they're telling you, the first thing is believe them. Believe them. You know, that is the biggest thing for somebody in an abusive relationship. See them, hear them, believe them. Key attachment wounds right there. So if you are seeing, hearing, and believing them with zero judgment or criticism, come from your true self as a friend, as a parent, as a sister, as a brother, even doing that is really actually going to help them potentially come to that decision at some stage when it's safe to leave that relationship as well. So you hold your true self when you are in that situation. Because let me tell you, if you are a family member and you are telling your daughter, your friend, your sister, your brother to just leave then, that is on you. That is your agenda. Because in some way, on some level, you want to help them because you can see this. And then if they stay, you're seeing that as a reflection of you as being not a good parent, not a good friend, not a good sister, not a good brother. That means the pain for you of not feeling good enough starts to come up and you start to judge. Well, just leave then. Oh, I can't. I need to stay. Well, then you need to leave. Well, no, I can't. Well, I can't help you anymore then. If you're not prepared to do the right thing and leave for your children's sake and everything else, then I don't want to speak to you anymore. And I see this happen. People get judged for staying in these abusive relationships. And what happens is exactly what the narcissist wants to happen. They get isolated even further because people are trying to reach out and talk about their situation. And of course, as friends and family, you just want to support and just leave them. But actually, that's even worse because you're going to isolate them even more. Because if you are telling somebody to just leave them and then they don't leave, what you're doing is you are triggering them even more of feeling worthless and not good enough because their system's like, oh, I must really be worthless and not good enough, because I've got my friend, my parents, my sister, my brother telling me to just leave. And I'm so weak. I'm so stupid. I'm not leaving. And that will isolate them even more, because then they will stop seeing you, they will stop speaking to you, because it will be safer to not see or speak to you, because then they won't be triggered of their core wounds either. So now you start to see the dynamics that start to come up. So what do you do then? How do you support somebody then who's in a narcissistic relationship then, without saying those 3 words, just leave them? Well, you do it with love. You do it with compassion. You do it with patience. Most actual homicides and murders happen in the first 7 days of someone leaving in an abusive relationship. So the first thing, we need to make sure that they are safe. And for that to happen, if they are going to make those choices to leave that relationship, we want that person to try and make those choices coming from their true self as much as possible. So for that, we want to help build them up. So your friend, your family member who may be in that narcissistic relationship right now, the best thing that you can do for them is hold space for them, hear them, see them, believe them. Let them start to know that regardless of what they do, you are going to be there for them. That even in itself is really soothing to their inner child wounds, because they already feel rejected, stupid, weak, powerless. You holding space, knowing all of this, that they are still in that relationship, you are disconfirming so many of their past experiences around shame, around judgment, around criticism. One of the key things when I'm working with clients, particularly on a one-to-one basis, is the shame element of this. And often shame makes people look down. They look away because they feel that shame, that they can't just look at somebody in the eye because it's going to trigger even more their wounds. And when I do a lot of the somatic work with my clients, and we're really processing this through the body around feeling judged, criticized, people have said stuff to them. Often when they start to look down, as we're processing it through the body, I will say, I just want you to keep looking at me as you're processing this. What is it that you want to say? So they will start to say things that maybe would have been to the abuser that they felt unsafe to say, or swearing at parents, or all of these elements that they would feel shame about doing. But our safe space, when they do that, I get them to look me in the eye. And the reason for that is if they are looking me in the eye in those moments where they are saying and being the things that they feel are making them weak or stupid, and I'm still there, right there with compassion, right there holding that space for them, that is super powerful for somebody who is feeling that shame. So you as that friend, family member, just being there, even if they are saying all of these things to you, not judging them, not criticizing them, keeping them knowing that you are there for them, regardless of whether they stay or go, is actually going to help them even more to get to the steps when they do leave. So saying just leave then is actually counterproductive. It's actually going to cause them to stay even more. Holding space with no judgment or criticizing, coming from your true self, seeing that if they stay, it's no reflection of you as a great family member. It isn't. This is all about their nervous system. This is all about their inner child wounds that have happened from their interpretations from their childhood as well. This isn't your fault. The best way to support is with compassion, no judgment, no criticism, so that they know, regardless, you are there for them. And eventually then, if they have an army of people around them that do that, they will start to disconfirm past experiences. They will start to recognize, I am enough, I am worthy. And maybe they will start to make those steps to then leave that relationship safely. So thanks for joining me. I hope that really helps. Maybe you want to send this to friends and family. Maybe for you, it's just helping because you are in that narcissistic relationship. And maybe you've heard friends and family say to you, well, just leave there. And it's made you feel a lot of shame and judgment. Believe me, this is not your fault. This is just your nervous system knowing it's safer to stay in that relationship and have breadcrumbs of love than not. And equally, it is your friends and family with the most loving intention for you, but not understanding it through a trauma-informed lens. So just know that I see you, I hear you, I believe you, And again, if you're struggling with friends or family around you not doing that, then please come and join my family, my community. And in the show notes below, you will see there's a link to my free group on Facebook. So please come and join all of that. Drop me a message on Instagram. Let me know in the comments below, so that I want you to know that I see you, I hear you, I believe you. And even if you're still in that narcissistic relationship, you're not weak, you're not stupid. You're just trying to stay as safe as you possibly can through your lived experiences, and that's okay. Let's just get curious together about how maybe we can start to slowly help you understand through a different lens your past experiences. So maybe you can make some different choices, some different ways forward, so that you can move from post-traumatic stress, from narcissistic abuse, to post-traumatic growth. Take care, my friends. See you on the next episode.